What's your family's darkest secret that would destroy everyone if it was revealed? My dad and mom have been married for 17 years now and have me, my little sister and little brother. Around 2 years ago, my dad started being just super weird, distant, and rude to the whole family. It was around the time when I started going through a really tough time mentally. I'm 16 and it started at the beginning of my sophomore year. It was just awful. It got bad enough to the point where I was harming myself and couldn't even get out of bed to go to school. My dad would beat me for this, and my mom would sometimes beat me too. My dad was always worse though. He'd pick me up by my hair and throw me off my bed. It was just the worst year of my life. So about 3 months ago, this lady texted my mom and told her that my dad was married to her and that she had a kid and was expecting another kid. My mom went absolutely ballistic on my dad. My dad denied it at first and wouldn't give my mom the phone for hours as they screamed and broke everything upstairs. Me and my siblings were all in my sister's bed just listening to it. It got bad enough the next day with their fighting that they both hit each other and my mom called the police on my dad. The police just talked to both of them and sort of told my mom to get a restraining order, and that they couldn't do anything. My dad just left the house to go to work at the restaurants. Oh yeah, this is important. So my parents own 2 businesses, restaurants, that they work at. Technically my dad's an engineer but he says he doesn't want to work for anybody. So the police left and we were just sort of taking it all in. We had 2 half-siblings and my dad had been cheating with a whole other wife for 2 years. The thing is, my mom can't divorce him for another 3 years minimum because their visa or green card is connected. If they get divorced, then the green card will expire and we'll all be sent back to Saudi Arabia, and my mom and we don't want that because we've lived here our whole lives. My dad said nasty things to my mom and still says them, but my mom has made a plan to trick him into thinking she forgave him and then she wants to work out the marriage. This is because he put everything under his name, the house, both the businesses, which by the way were my mom's. She worked in them day and night and put all the effort into them. He bought the other wife a Range Rover and took her to Florida. I forgot to add this too, but this lady was an employee at the restaurant my parents hired because she was homeless and lived in a shelter, and apparently had 3 mistreatful husbands. So my mom hired her to help her have a fresh start. This lady is also insane. She mistreated her last husbands and she would scream at my dad. I guess she held a knife up to his throat once too, but he still didn't ever leave her. He did leave her when my mom found out because apparently he made a deal with her that if she ever told my mom, he would divorce her. He also gave me the other wife's broken up Kia Soul when he bought her the Range Rover, and I was super happy because I thought he really got me a car. But it was really just the other wife's old car. When he divorced her, he took the car back from her and gave it to me. But when he got home with the car and saw my mom crying, he screamed at my mom and said this is my wife and I had to spoil her. Oh, and he also bought the other wife an apartment and gave her over $600,000, while me and my mom and siblings have been saving money for 2 years and not spending it on anything other than necessities. My mom told us my dad was going through a struggling time and we didn't have that much money, but he was really just giving it to the other wife. For the past 3 months he's been mentally mistreating my mom, calling her crazy and telling her to stop talking about it. He gives her these strikes before he says he's going to divorce her. Just the other day he was screaming at my mom for crying and saying if she doesn't leave the room, which is literally her room, he would divorce her right then. He tells my mom that she was useless and he could never talk to her. She was only sometimes good for him to have intimacy with and he just says these horrible, terrible, disgusting things to her. Let me tell you about my mom now. My mom pretty much raised us our whole lives. Oh yeah, my dad also said she did a terrible job with us, even though he was never home. But anyway, my mom put us in every sport and activity and drove us there and back, and still came home and worked at the restaurant. She came home to make dinner for us every night. She's the most loving, sweet, caring and kind person you could ever think of. I feel like I've been sort of carrying the whole house for the last couple of weeks, and I already had anxiety before, but it's just so bad now. It's gotten to the point where I can't keep any food down, but I really want to be there for my mom and just my siblings and everyone. I don't know what to do. It's so hard living and pretending to love and like my dad because we can't show him that we don't, or he'll really divorce my mom and break the family and all of our lives pretty much. At the beginning, he would tell my mom to go back to Saudi Arabia to her parents because he was such a bad person, and trying to guilt trip her. But me and my mom think he just wanted her out of the house so he could bring his other wife to our house and for her to live here. Oh, I also forgot to mention, like a week after my mom found out, he said he was going to kill himself and we had to call the police. We were speeding around driving the city to find him and we literally thought he died, but he was just faking it. It just breaks my heart seeing my mom have to live through this and I really don't know what to do. He took $5,000 of my parents' house cash stash and we think he bought her some used car. He's been going to her house in the middle of work, me and my mom know because he put a tracker in his car. He also used $100K of my mom's money to buy the other wife the Range Rover. I honestly just can't believe that this disgusting lady literally came from a shelter, and my dad did this. So yeah, my mom has a lawyer and has talked to more than one. If she divorces him right now, her green card would be lost and we would all be sent back to Saudi Arabia. She would barely get any money from the divorce because the cards, the cars, the businesses and the house are all under his name. She's going to apply for a green card through me, I think, In 5 years when I turned 21. I'm not sure on that stuff, it's kind of been a blur to be honest. Also, sorry, I want to mention something else. My dad has had 2 kids with this lady in 2 years and told us that we were terrible kids. When my mom said she didn't want him to go to the lady's house alone to see his kid, and that she'll even wait in the car, he screamed at her and said no. It's hard to love someone who doesn't even like you, and my dad for some reason just stopped caring about us after we weren't little kids anymore. Now he's obsessed with his baby from her. I don't understand how he tells my mom how terrible she is, how she's ugly and how he hates her, but then the next day he'll say how he loves her and he only slept with the woman 3 times by force. It just doesn't add up and I'm so sick of everything that's been going on. I just want to be a 16-year-old girl. I know I shouldn't be selfish and need to think of my mom and siblings too, but I don't know, I feel like I'm a parent at 16. I told my mom I wanted to go shopping and if I could get some money from my dad, and she said I couldn't, even though the other lady clearly milked my dad of his money. And I can't even get a cent from him.